What's going on, people? Good morning. Welcome to United View. Welcome to your morning view show, Wednesday, 15th of November. Smash a like on the video, subscribe to the channel. If you are new, let us know where you are watching from, how you're feeling, what you're up to today. A lot to talk about. Obviously, third day, really, of the international break. But news keeps coming in. So Jim Ratcliffe, £250 million stadium plan, not even enough to touch the surface, mate. We're going to talk about that. Sporting director update. As well. João Neves apparently being scouted by Man United as well at Benfica. They went to watch him against Sporting. And Cooperman United stake. Who is he? What does it mean? What is that? Is there any real significance?
Like we've done our research, Flex.
Yeah, exactly. What even is that? So there is a lot to talk about. Stretford, Manchester. That's where Jaden is. Big up Jaden. He's local. Watching from St Helens, Liverpool. Big up to Bear. What has Sir Jim done now? We'll talk about that. I'm a Liverpool fan. Are they live, says Aminor? Yes, we are. Yes, we are, Aminor. Tabasol says, big up, fam. You're going to have to pay a fine, Fleck, I think because of the lateness. Got to let the audience build up, build the anticipation. Big up, UB fam, says Daniel Luciano. Crafty Skill says, yes, bro. And watching from the dentist, says Court Star. Watching from the dentist. Because you work there, or you're doing some work there, or you're at the dentist in an appointment. Which you probably should be concentrating right now and making sure that, the dentist is booked in. And
you say that, they might just be in the waiting room. It might be in the
waiting room, headphones in.
Yeah.
Well, good luck with whatever you're doing there.
I don't think they're in the chair. You know what I mean? I don't think they're in the chair.
Oh, root canal in waiting room. Oh, I've never had a root canal, and I don't even like to talk about it. But listen, I don't want to project my anxieties onto you. You are in there ready to get one. So hope it goes well. Big up from Auckland, New Zealand. Yeah. And Dino Lewis says Norway is stunning. Norway is amazing, actually. I've been there once. And Bestwick, Manchester. Good morning, lads, says Andy. So we've got a lot of people in there, man. A lot of people. Smash a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you are new. We're at 156, as you see, top right hand corner, 830. So I think that's a big arts to get to 157, but why not? Let's do our best.
170 subs, one stream.
Anything's possible. Anything. Listen, if you don't put it into the atmosphere and believe, then you're never going to get anywhere. So, yes, get onto that. Aminor, been a member for 10 months, come through with the first super chat / members chat of the day. Says, Flex, I watched you yesterday. I don't even know if I want to read this. I watched you yesterday on EAFC 24. You guys gave me hope that we can play like that. Wow. KG's passing superb. Believe Africa. INEOS Harry Maguire. Wow.
It's funny, actually, that's brought up because, first of all, we've got a lot of positive feedback about yesterday's EAFC co-op seasons, remote. Yes. It was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that stream.
It was good.
A lot of positive feedback. Some negative, though. You can't always get completely positive. Some negative. We're too mean to KG, I think was the general sentiment from people that said that that was the negative or constructive criticism, saying that there is, sort of scapegoating when it comes to KG. We're too horrible to him. When you mess up, Flex, I'm not horrible to you. That was part of it as well. All I will say to that is, first of all, I was being just as mean to Fleck. I'm always mean to both of them.
You are, okay?
When it comes to Fleck and the Flecknology, go to the end of the stream. KG was
just playing worse, that's all.
And he was... For the first 30 minutes of that stream,
he was moving
awful.
Mad.
Awful.
But he redeemed himself, and then he was really.
He did redeem himself. But like Ten Hag, don't pull any punches.
Yeah,
say it how it is. That's
exactly. Say it how it is. Bless up, Owen and Flex, says Alex as well. KG needs to hold that, man. Lacks accountability, says SS Drifter. I went to his channel to see this this morning because obviously it was such a big anticipating thing to see him versus Minna, but he wasn't there.
It's on Minna's channel. And
it's on Minna's channel. No spoilers. I think I want no spoilers because I wanted to watch it.
Okay.
But no spoilers. I'm gonna please in the chat don't spoil it, please, if you've seen.
Well, you know what's coming there.
I know they're gonna do it anyway. But anyway, Owen, Sir Jim Ratcliffe, 250 M's. Talk to me.
Yes, so there's a story that comes from Mike Keegan today, and it's all about I guess, Old Trafford is falling down. That's what people sing, don't they? It's all about that kind of stuff, and Old Trafford falling apart and the money that goes into it, and Sir Jim Ratcliffe and INEOS's plans for Old Trafford. And there had been a story recently that there was going to be this sort of cash injection of £250 million in what was called infrastructure. Now, Mike Keegan says, as Mail Sport recently reported, experts do not think such a sum will touch the sides. A year ago, that figure could have just paid for an extension of the Sir Bobby stand, but thanks to a global surge in the cost of materials, that is no longer the case. Any demolition job would need a vast protective concrete case over the railway line. That alone would prove prohibitive. There is, as of yet, no indication on where the cash injection, which will be staggered, will go. To put it into context, when the Glazers brought in the architects, a move that seems laughable now. Remember that? The master planner, when that came in, they were told a proper job would cost north of, the number that people really had been saying this whole time, £1 billion. And the need is not just at Old Trafford. The training ground also requires a revamp. Mike Keegan does editorialize here, saying at least Ratcliffe is putting money in, a welcome change. That leads to an obvious question. Why on earth should a man who owns only 25% of the club be responsible for redeveloping a stadium that has been neglected by the people he is buying that share from, people who will continue to own the majority?
That's a good... I'll tell you what, Mike Keegan, that's a good talking point now, isn't it? That's a good closing statement.
But this is what's funny.
That is what's happening, isn't it? Obviously,
these are questions that we've been raising. These are questions we've been raising this whole time. And when you bring up, again, these are logical questions. Logical question. When you bring them up, there is a kind of pushback. Oh, stop being so negative. Why are you being a hater? You go, well, no, you're just thinking logically. Again, like Mike Keegan says there, you own 25%. You're trying to put money into fixing just the stadium alone, which again is in such a state of disrepair. £250 million, a lot of money, does nothing. There's absolutely zero to it. A job that's costing over £1 billion. And when you're getting into that territory anyway, you're going, wait a minute, I don't even own this. Like, this isn't even mine. Like, it's not my majority. It's not my majority. I'm a minority investor. So then you get into the territory of a lot of outsiders who haven't been involved in this process step by step are saying, so when this guy's come in, he's going to own 25%. He's really overpaying for 25% as well. And you're saying that he's going to put him and I guess these banks' money to fix all of these things that aren't his fault in the first place, and he doesn't own the club. Like, what? What? It's a strange situation, isn't it? It's a bizarre situation, but I guess that's Manchester United as well.
Yeah, it is mad. And like you said, when he says it like that, and when you read it out, you get back to that. So before we, slag off the situation and say, like you said, it won't touch the sides, I'll get to that in a sec. But it's true. Like, this guy is coming in and actually putting his own money into the club straight away. Now, okay, we're saying it's not enough. The Glazers haven't done that in years, ever, I don't think. Do you know what I mean? Like, that just shows you where they're at. And this is a guy who owns, like you're saying, a minority share. Of course, 250 million, which is what we're saying, it's not enough. It's nowhere near enough. We all knew, obviously, but I know the aim clearly doesn't look like it is to build a new stadium, but the aim for us was, if we want a new stadium or to completely, overhaul the stadium, you're talking 1 billion minimum. Do you know what I mean? That's bare minimum. And that was then, the same 250 million that it was going to put in a year ago, that could have, fixed a lot more things than it can fix now because of the cost of living.
Even
and
then, just a stand. Even then, a year ago,
just one stand. This is the Bobby Charlton stand. We can't scratch the sides now, with now the cost of materials rising. Different commodities in the world and different materials now costing more than they did a year ago. So to even do that now, what you planned to do with it last year, already it's worse. So 250 million. Again, look, I'm not an architecture. I'm not a surveyor. I don't know the.
You're not a master planner, Flex.
I'm not a master planner. But you would. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to work out that is not going to get you what it got you last year. Is the main thing. And even 250 million in general for a club the size of Man United and the stadium, how big it is and how much it costs to do things. Again, it doesn't take a master planner to actually go, 250 million probably. That'll be things like what we've seen. That'll be things like they've painted the front like a deeper red. They've painted like some of the
they might take some seats out and put some new ones in. The
could
actual
do
seats in
that.
question. You
Yeah,
know
the
what I
actual
mean?
seats in question.
Yeah.
The roof leaks, you could plug a few of them with
Maybe.
250 million, get people up on the cranes, temporary gaps, fill them in, you know. What else could you do? You could put some new pictures up round Old Trafford. You know, they did that a little while ago. Not a lot. Not a lot. You can, you know, give it a lick of paint in hospitality and shit like that, or in the concourse, give it a lick of paint, something like that. But again, big structural changes, i.e., increase the capacity of the stand, which comes with its massive complications, like the same with the railway behind that stand. Huge, huge. Again, I'm not a master planner. I am not an architect, but I know that is an extremely complex thing to do. And when things are extremely complex, they're extremely expensive. So yeah, I'm not surprised to see it, but not that we want to jump on this like, oh, but look, Sir Jim's come in, he only owns the minority. Look, he's putting money into it by himself. Fair play to him, you know. But that is a significant point, that he is a minority shareholder and he's putting his hand in his own pocket straight away, even though it's not enough.
Yeah.
And the Glazers are still just sitting there rinsing us.
Something that he doesn't own.
Something that he doesn't own. So it's less of a big up to Sir Jim, but more of a these
The
vermin,
situation.
like
The situation.
they've got what they wanted. It's just
Farcical.
more proof. Exactly, farcical, Owen. It's more proof, before I hand it back to you. It's more proof that they have absolutely played a blinder. They've taken us all for absolute idiots. Let's make them think we're going to sell it. Let's make them think we're going to, you know, sell the majority of it too. Then let's not do that. Let's bring in someone who is stupid enough. Right now, at this stage, I'm going to say stupid enough. Obviously, Sir Jim's got plans and we'll see how they work out. But my natural opinion is someone stupid enough to go, I'm going to put in, you know, minority, and I'm going to fund you to stay here. You know, it's just they've
Look,
won.
it might be
Hopefully
look,
there's
the
a full buyout.
situation. Yeah, well, imagine, look, like they kept saying he wouldn't get involved had he not felt like there was a potential for a full buyout. You know, that roadmap. I think maybe reading this article is a kind of reality check to some United fans that some of the bigger picture things, they're just not going to be resolved immediately. You know what I mean?
No.
The stuff that actually they can affect fairly quickly is the stuff on the pitch. You know, they can get these people in place. They can get Jean-Claude Blanc in. They can get Paul Mitchell or Dougie Friedman. We'll talk about that in a bit. You can get those people in and you can maybe work on transfers, maybe not in January because we're kind of tied up from an FFP point of view, but next summer, you know, we can kind of fix those things fairly quickly. But the bigger, grander things, the stadium, the training ground, infrastructure, youth recruitment, which you don't really see any dividends for like a decade or whatever. You have to really start doing good stuff now. And then maybe in 10 years' time, you go, actually, our academies thrive and that kind of stuff. That's going to take time anyway. And then particularly when you're looking at maybe hopefully a staged buyout and you've got this like weird hierarchy at Old Trafford or within Man United where you're talking about percentages and, you know, years and negotiating periods and shares and class, you know, type all this kind of stuff. Like that is going to take a ridiculous amount of time. And it's going to be a massive Game of Thrones thing between all of these different factions trying to get the most money and get the best deal for them. So yeah, like the stadium thing, I mean, also as well, that £250 million isn't all up front, it's staggered. And this isn't to also like go, oh, see, Qatar, like Qatar's gone. Like, forget it. It's over. But when you had those reports of like Sheikh Jasmine, all those people, they were going, oh, we're only willing to offer £5 billion. But all of this stuff's added on top of it. At the time, for me, I always said it was worthless, them even including that in the number, because they'd said, we've offered like, you know, £8 billion or whatever it was, £7 billion, whereas in reality it was 5 plus like $1 billion for the stadium, $1 billion for all this kind of stuff. But it also felt a little bit like it was done because it was a reminder to everyone involved, like, okay, there's an amount of money going to buy the club, but the total package involved of fixing everything here is
way bigger,
ginormous. Like giant, because again, you're spending $5 billion on getting the club, or the Glazers wanted $6 billion to sell up front, cash. There you go. Oh, and how much you're gonna have to spend on the stadium, training ground, infrastructure? Probably like 2 or 3 billion. So a total package of like 9 billion quid. You're paying for this asset that's got all this potential, but you've also got to put a ton of money. It's like buying a mansion, but inside it's all completely rotted apart. And you go, if you put the money in, it would be pretty good. And you go, how much money? Quite a lot of money. You know?
Just a bit.
Yeah,
Just a bit.
exactly. It's crazy. It's a crazy situation, and I think that's why, as we've always said, or certainly I know that I've said it a lot, when it comes to the Jim Ratcliffe part of things, or just any, there are still so many questions that have to be answered, and so many things that I think are natural questions and skepticism that's natural and healthy to have about this whole thing. How's it going to work? What's the plan for this? What's the plan for that? You know, all of those kind of things. And I think sometimes when you ask those questions, you get, you know, said you're hating, all that kind of stuff. But I think it's perfectly natural to have that skepticism. You know, I think we're past the point of sort of blind faith of people coming in to save the day and everything's going to be fixed and we're going to be like we were 15 years ago, because it doesn't happen overnight, and it won't happen overnight.
Yeah. Do we? Like you said, that it won't happen overnight. I wonder with this, like, because it's not what we wanted and we still don't know so much. At what point, or is it now, where we do go, well, some of this is like could be good for us. Like the sport, we know that we need a sporting director. We know we need changes upstairs. Somebody is going to start putting money into the club, albeit it's a small amount to start off with. Money's going in. Hopefully, we get the news of they'll be out by 2020, whatever, that kind of thing. Like, what I'm basically asking is, are people going to, do we need to start coming around to the fact that there is a lot of darkness right now where we don't know what's going on with certain things, but this is still a good move because the Glazers have less control than they did. Potentially, with what we're hearing anyway, rumors, there's a phased way of them getting out eventually. This is still a better situation than them staying in their entirety as they were before, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
But it feels,
you know,
but what I'm saying is, Owen, it feels hard to really get behind it because they're just sitting there with their feet up, still playing with blind up. I don't know how to feel. I don't know how to feel. That's what I'm asking.
But this is why I'm saying there are questions. That's why I'm saying there are questions. You know, so as I've said a million times, if it came once this thing gets ratified and announced, if it comes out that yes, there is a roadmap for the Glazers to no longer be at the club, even if it's 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, however long it is, I think anyone can get behind that. They'll go, look, it's not immediate, but okay, there is light at the end of the tunnel there. There is hope. A year ago, we had zero hope. We had no hope. If we can get out of this process with hope, that's a win, because no one thought that was possible a year ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago. Nobody thought that was possible. To get out of it with hope, cool. We have to put out of our mind, those that really wanted it, this idea of having this, you know, all of the infinite amount of wealth that we could just pile into these projects, like stadiums, like training grounds. That doesn't look like that's going to be the case. And we said, I know it's kind of contradicting what we were saying earlier on. It doesn't necessarily have to be, you know, totally the case. It's just, like you said, there's just more questions than maybe there would have been with the other option. There are more questions, and there are more, like, I guess maybe pushbacks to these sort of projects like the stadium by going, how much is it going to cost? $1 billion. We don't really have $1 billion. So actually, we're going to have to kind of figure that out. Training ground, how much is that going to cost? Total overhaul, $1 billion. Well, we can maybe do like sort of half of that. We can get it a bit better at the moment. You know what I mean? You go, wow, okay, you know, and what's going on with the whole ownership in the situation anyway? Wow, we're going to have to figure that out over a few years. You know, it's going to be, I said, it's not overnight, but I don't think it's totally doom and gloom, you know, either. I think people that are like still hung up on, we could have had Qatar, you know, like I said, you've got to get over it. And I think if you do look at the bigger picture and you do look at the wider context, you know, as long as there is hope, you know, then for me, that's a win. As long as there is an actual, tangible, feasible way that the Glazers can no longer be involved, that is it.
And that is what we're waiting to see, that the confirmation of that. But you do, when you look at it, the more it's getting closer to this happening, you're like, surely he wouldn't just pay 25% of this, and like he's getting sporting control,
stadium,
put 250 million in. Like, he would have to be the biggest idiot going, or just the biggest mate of the Glazers. Just want to help them out. Times were hard. I'll come in, give me 25%. I'll sit there with you. You know, we could take money out together. You know, you could pay me back that in a bit, like little mates rates, little mates. But I'll be honest, I've got to doubt that. You know, especially because things are going to change in the structure as well with how we operate, because that's the biggest thing. I mean, you don't want to overgas it. And this is kind of moving the conversation on a little bit. Like with the sporting director situation, that could be the biggest signing Man United have made in the last decade. It really could. Like, in terms of them organizational shifts and the structural changes above, with scouting and director of football, and basically, you know, putting experts where the experts need to go, which is like we spoke about with AV on the United Therapy. Like, that's just any walk of life, any job, any company, any industry. If we do that, that could be a significant change and improvement in us just by having that.
Yeah, no, absolutely it could. And regarding that story, so there was a story coming from the Daily Mail yesterday, came from Chris Wheeler and Sammy Mockball, who said Paul Mitchell and Dougie Freedman are the early contenders to be Manchester United's new sporting director. Now, I think everyone's seen a version of the Paul Mitchell story over the last month or so. I think he's clearly the front runner, clearly the favourite. Even prior to INEOS kind of winning this investment race, he had been earmarked as someone that would be coming in as part of the INEOS package, as it were. But Dougie Freedman's kind of come out of nowhere a little bit in terms of being linked, certainly. And it was quite interesting because Rio Ferdinand was talking on 5 yesterday, which I believe a Fleck has appeared on more than once. So big up them. And he kind of criticized Dougie Freedman a bit, which has upset some Crystal Palace fans in particular. This is what Rio said. He said, his name has come out of left field. No disrespect, but I don't remember anyone saying, wow, look at what Palace are doing. Paul Mitchell, I get it. He has a history of doing good things, and the same with Michael Edwards, Julian Ward at Liverpool. They have a body of successful work that is recognised. So has Dan Ashworth with England, and then Brighton, and now at Newcastle. You can understand that, but nobody says that about Palace. Elise, Eze, Gehi are 3 players you look at that have been good signings, but for every one of those, there are others that haven't worked. They don't have a reputation that makes you understand why United would go for him. Dan Ashworth has been in these roles before, but John Murtough has worked in positions that aren't based around football. He was helping out behind the scenes, but not on football things. Now, as I mentioned, that got a lot of people, well, certainly Palace fans I saw, were upset about that. Because their point of view is, well, it's hard to say that he hasn't been a success with the signings of Gehi, Anderson, Decore, Eze, and Elise, 2 of which not only has he managed to sign, but he's managed to keep at Palace as well, which is a key aspect too. You know, maybe trying to push away that they're this big selling club. Do you think Rio's words are a bit harsh, or do you think they were fair?
To Palace fans, 100% they're going to feel aggrieved because they've had some absolute gems recently. You know, you look at the likes of Elise, Eze, Mark Gay, Anderson. You know, they've got young Raksaki coming through as well. He's a decent young player. So to that, and they've managed to persuade Elise to sign a big new deal when it looked like he was going to go Chelsea. You know, and Eze. So they've got 2 of the hottest, youngest prospects in the league that will easily go for 50+ million when they get sold, right?
Signed and then stayed.
Yeah, so signing and stayed and made those players believe that this is the right step for their development, Crystal Palace. So he deserves a lot of credit for that. But I don't think it's always transferable into the size of the club of Man United. You know, for what he's doing at Palace and for where Palace are and want to be, he's doing a great job. But it is different at Man United. The resume, you would argue, probably does need to be stronger. And, you know, I did, even when I heard Dougie Freedman, I went a bit, oh, okay, didn't expect that one. So I don't think you should write off what he's achieved, because for where he is and what he needs to do, he's overachieved at Palace. It's unbelievable, some of the players he's secured. Same with Anderson and Gay, actually. When they get sold, they're going to go for big money if they go anytime soon. So I respect what he's done. But I do see, and I'm not just agreeing with Rio because I go on the channel, get on Rio. If I disagreed with him, I'll tell him. I'd say, mate, you've had a howler. Same way we do on the show. That's the whole point. It's not just, you know, going with everyone's opinion. So I think he might have been a little bit harsh with the way he said it, but overall, I think it's fair because Man United is a different beast, it's a different animal, it's completely different.
Yeah, I think I agree with what you're saying. I think he could have phrased it a lot better with what he was trying to say. I think the gist of what he is saying is, if you look at, for instance, a Paul Mitchell, it's a staggered career growth, isn't it? You know, you go from, he worked with Poch at Southampton, he went with him to Spurs, did a great job. He's went to Monaco, did a great job. Like, there is consistency as he's got higher and higher, and in different clubs as well. Was he involved in the RB project as well? He might have been.
Yeah, I think he was.
Yeah. So, you know what I mean? He's
I
got
think so,
history of working a Red Bull. There you go. So, you know, he's got history of working in the Premier League, in other leagues, and being successful near enough every single time. There is a large body of work to look from there. Dougie Freedman's done a great job at Crystal Palace, and you know, credit to him. But you would maybe say he maybe needs, you know, he needs, if he did it at another club that was a step up from Palace, but it's a step below United, you would go, well, maybe he's really good at what he does there. But the sample size is still quite small. And for the job that you know, being a sporting director at Manchester United would encompass, because again, we're looking at a lot of failure, a lot of knots to unpick at United in terms of selling players, buying players, strategy, coming in whilst this investment, you know, politics are going on above you. You're going into, you know, working with a manager that has got, you know, some issues with certain players that are there too, lots of big contracts. Like, this needs to be an experienced, best-in-class head. This isn't something for someone that, you know, has done a good job at a smaller Premier League team, but that's about it, you know, and not to put down Crystal Palace or anything like that, but I need someone bigger and with more experience. So that's why you go into, like I said, Paul Mitchell. That's why you go into the bloke that's at Newcastle as well, because, and even that you would say, you know, it's still...
Yeah.
For whoever it's going to be, I don't think anyone is going to be prepared for what that job is actually going to encompass.
No, it's exactly,
you know?
And it's going to take time. But I think with Paul Mitchell, and this is why you have to, why I agree with what Rio's saying, is overall his resume is stronger. Like, he's been part of some stuff at the top end of the Premier League, or, you know, doing things that have been, you know, higher or more noticeable than what's been done at Palace. You know, you know,
it's a bigger risk. It's a much bigger risk, isn't it? You know.
100%. You know, and I'm just reading his resume here. You know, when he was with Poch at Southampton, you know, they got them. Look what he done with them. Got them,
and people forget that was Southampton that were finishing like what? Where do they finish? Like 8th, 7th, whatever.
When it was Ricky Lambert, Adam Lallana, Schneiderlin, bloody, you know, Klein in his prime. You know what, Mane,
Shaw.
You know, Luke Shaw. You know, and look how much they sold them. They were the Brighton, weren't they? Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Back then, Southampton at that point, you know, they used to sell players for big money, etc., etc. You know, I don't know if he was there when Gareth Bale made that. No, that was after. But you get my gist, yeah. So, and then when you look at obviously going to Spurs with what he did, you know, Spurs were knocking on the door, and it got to a point where Pochettino just needed extra backing, and then Daniel Levy decided to go in a different way. And obviously they were crap after that for years.
That was a small budget under Poch.
Very small budget.
Very
when
small
you look,
budget.
there you go. I'm looking at the names there: Kieran Trippier, Son, Dele Alli, Prime Dele Alli, from MK Dons, who Paul Mitchell was a part of before. Toby Alderweireld. You know, look at Vertonghen. Look, that team that was assembled at Spurs was a serious team. No one can doubt that. I know we can do the Spursy thing of saying, "What did they win?" But they're Spurs. But the team was good. And then, like you said, RB Leipzig. Looking at that. He got them off the ground as well and signed some good players, and then went to Monaco. So his CV is stronger than a Dougie Freedman. So I do get that. But I am that is one thing that would excite me a lot, to see that change, though, to see us run differently. And then of course it needs so much time. It needs plenty of windows. It needs patience. It needs, you know, like anything, a few mistakes early on. You know, it happens, but it needs sticking with a new type of way of working, a new process, and a new way of doing things. And I'm excited about that potential. I hope that happens. Like I said, there's certain things that Sir Jim can do off the bat that will get fans to buy in, you know, more than they would have done. And that is one of them. If as soon as he comes in, he says, John Murto, see you later. Richard Arnold, see you later. You know, whoever else is in the back, see you later. here's Paul Mitchell, here's this guy, we're doing things differently. That at least gets
this
the
is
fans
their
to say,
CV.
this is their CV. That at least makes me go as a fan, well, we're going in a new direction. I need to see how this plays out. It's like I've been asking for change at that level. Now I need to see how it plays out. Let's see how we sell. Let's see how we buy. Let's see how we scout. Let's see.
Yeah, and I think also with those people in charge, as I said, like, January's too quick. So I wouldn't be going into January being like, oh, I'm really excited about this transfer window because we ain't doing anything in January. It's basically been said that we're not doing all that much. So we're selling Sancho. Even selling Sancho, they think might not even help some of the FFP problems that we've got, realistically. They might try and get a striker. That was the thing yesterday, wasn't it? They might try and get a striker in January if they can to help support Højlund, but basically don't expect too much because we're kind of screwed. And with those people coming in, you don't want them to act really, rash. We want a bit of strategy.
Exactly.
We want a bit of strategy. So
Keep
I think when
your
it gets to the summer, and they've been in the job for hopefully by that point, like 6 months, something like that. Then hopefully that would be a transfer window to look forward to because you're going, right, not just incomings as well, hopefully outgoings. We can move some players on. We can act like a normal club, maybe. So, but the problem is, like, I remember like the first one under John Murtough, like, it's going to be normal. That was chaos. Like last season, not this past one, the season before. I know we spent all that money, but that was chaos, that transfer window. I was nuts. So I'm just hoping that not that again, basically. Let's get away from that. Fingers crossed, right? Fingers crossed.
Carla Boy says, how do Owen and Flex know each other? Big up, Mandem. From our days on United Stand. Yeah, obviously I'd been on there quite a while. Owen popped up, done a couple shows. Then I never saw him again. He vanished.
Yeah.
He vanished. Yeah.
I was like the Undertaker. The lights went out and I just wasn't there.
Yeah, and then he just contacted me when I started United View about a month in or a few weeks in, and said
very early on to the process.
Yeah,
but never any intentions. But
no,
that was never part of the plan.
No,
it was a happy accident.
It literally was. Yeah, I think Owen must have just saw on social media that I'd started a new venture and went, can I do a couple of videos? I went, go on then. If you want,
it might have even been looser than that. If you need anything, let me know.
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, and then I was like, I just want to jump on a live with me later. Yeah, go on.
There
Yeah,
you go.
We should go back to some of them videos. Well, I know what you're like. You've got every single receipt, so
we probably shouldn't because I remember the graphics and the
I was just on a white wall.
Performance.
I had to take this green screen down. Yeah. I was just in this same room, just on a white wall, thinking, I've started this United View thing. How on earth is this going to go? I don't know, but I've got to just start. I've got to just get on it and see what happens, and then.
Yeah, I think probably the performance for myself might have been quite dry at the time. You know what I mean? Yeah. Talking about, I don't even know, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, old recruitment thing. We're going to sign Camavinga. Yeah, that's worked out well for us, isn't it?
Flex's recruitment at United View has been impeccable. They call me Paul Mitchell. You know what I mean? Know the right ones to get in, know the right ones to get out. You know what I mean? Oh, it's hard. It's not easy being head of recruitment. It's not easy. I feel, in fact, I feel your pain, Paul Mitchell. It's not easy. It ain't easy. It ain't easy. We are at just over 1,000 people watching live, and we're at 178 likes. Smash a like for a little bit of backstory on United View, and smash a like just for in general. Fleck Mitchell. Yeah. Yes, Fleck Mitchell. Yeah. Exactly. Yes. Moving on. João Neves being scouted for
Speaking of recruitment.
Yeah, speaking of recruitment, exactly.
So this one comes from Fabrizio Romano, as you mentioned, saying that he understands Manchester United scouts were in attendance at a Benfica game versus Sporting to follow João Neves, the Portuguese midfielder. Fabrizio loves a birth date, by the way, born in 2004.
Yeah. Why does he... Sorry. All
the time, doesn't he?
Like, because you know what it is as well? I don't even go, born in 2004, 2004, so is he 22? Like, I'm not good at maths anyway. Just say the 21-year-old or the 19-year-old. Just say that.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And he says Portuguese midfielder, born in 2004, is being one because he does it a lot with academy players as well. You notice that he'll do it with like Manchester United are tracking so and so, born 2009, and you go, oh wow.
So is it because it's like to make it must be so young, only
a youngster? Born the other day. I think so. Exactly. I think because for you and I, we go 2004. We go, wow. That was yesterday. We're signing someone that's 3 or something like that. Then you realise he goes 2023. You go, oh, right. But he's being monitored by Manchester United's scouting department, waiting for board changes to make future decisions. Now, this is kind of why a story like this is not irrelevant, but it's a bit like we just spoke about all of the change and all of the recruitment and stuff like that. Like the scouting department and recruitment department will continue following players, continuing putting dossiers together and scout reports on all of these people. But realistically, they might also be of the mindset of actually, like when Sir Jim and INEOS come in and Paul Mitchell's my boss, because if Paul Mitchell's like heading up recruitment or whatever, they might all be reporting into him. Paul Mitchell might look at a lot of them and go, you're rubbish, and get rid of you. You know what I mean? So it's a story in the sense that United are looking at him, but call me cynical, Fleck, but I feel like we've kind of heard these stories before, sort of thing. So,
it's one of them, all of a sudden, Portuguese whiz kid, Benfica, yeah, we're looking at him, yeah, amazing. Then everyone starts saying, oh, yeah, no, he's fantastic. Yep, seen him. Yeah, he's exactly what we need. Yeah, lovely. Listen, I don't know much about him. I've heard his name. I've never watched him over 90 minutes. So I would welcome people to let us know if you have watched him. I've done a little bit of research just because, you hear his name about, but again, comps of like people doing well. It's just like
we've been hurt with comps.
I'm
okay,
not on that,
do I need to say Anthony Dos Santos?
Yeah,
I mean
exactly.
it's the ultimate comps. Don't believe what you see. Yeah. And look, here's hoping it works out still with Anthony because look, spent a lot of money. So hopefully there's this giant turnaround. But
yeah,
I think if we've learned anything over the last few years, comps and games at the World Cup, let's not get too carried away. When it comes to like, Anthony's a good example of that. I mean, the Sofian Amrabat thing, like he's good, but he's not, I think, what people thought we were getting necessarily. You know what I mean? And I'll hold my hands up. I saw him in the World Cup and he was brilliant in the World Cup.
He was, wasn't it?
I saw him in the Europa Conference League final against West Ham. He was better than Declan Rice that day. And you can't even change history because he was that day. Yeah. But at the same time, he needs to be more.
And that just proves, because obviously Amrabat can't talk to Declan Rice in any capacity, right? But it just proves about, I know it's a boxing thing, but the styles make fights. And, that was a Fiorentina team that had, the highest possession or one of the highest possessions in Serie A that season. And that was a West Ham team that does just sit back and just, soak up pressure. So Declan Rice wasn't able to shine that day. And yeah, Amrabat's on the ball. He's pinging it left and right. He's got time and space because West Ham's sitting off. It's different. And then even for me, like I admit my thing as well. Like I saw him in the World Cup and I was like, oh my God, get him now. Who is that? But it's different. It's a different setup. You're playing for your country as well. And or how many players have we seen in the World Cup do well? And you buy him off the back of that. Yeah. And it isn't that. And I'm not saying Amrabat's awful, send him back.
No.
But he isn't what I thought he was. 100% isn't. I can tell that after 3-4 games.
And they're kind of one-off games in essence. Like you can watch someone in a cup final or whatever, and they can have a great game. But then when you're watching them every single game, 2 games a week over a year, then you really see, actually, they can maybe have one-off games like that in a cup final. Because Amrabat's kind of like he is almost like a cup final knockout football kind of player. You know what I mean? Those sort of big games, if you did need someone to fly in tackles or whatever, yeah, cool. Like, that's great. But when you're talking playing for Man United, again, at home or away in the Premier League, you need another level of consistency and another level of sort of maybe technical quality that maybe that I think we've seen that maybe he doesn't really have. And like you said, not to say that he's terrible because he's not. He's good. He's a good player.
Yeah.
But you're thinking big. We were talking earlier on big picture, long term. Is Sofian Amrabat in that sphere for Manchester United? Whatever this new look United is going to be, is he really part of that? Time will tell. He's playing for his future, and I think he still probably is at the moment. I think. Well, actually, I'll put a poll in the chat at the moment. Would you sign Amrabat permanently? And I'd be interested to know the answers.
It's
a difficult one because there's still time.
Yeah, we still haven't even seen enough to even make that decision because obviously so far he hasn't had games or appearances yet with everything that's going on with how mental it is to even be like, oh yeah, this guy, make sure you sign him. Like it hasn't been that. We need to wait for the whole season. We can't make that decision because based off of now what I've seen, I'd say no. But
No, yeah.
that's like so early. The guys that hardly played regularly. So I wouldn't be that harsh. Fletch, remember your Casemiro agenda last season, says Javid. Says I remember everyone used to say I had a Casemiro agenda.
You did though. You did.
I didn't. You did. What I said was
you did.
Was that at the time I could see.
It was a bit like Onana. I think you said he ain't that. I think you said you might have said he ain't that.
Yeah, I said he ain't it at that time. Yeah. But I quickly backtracked on that one very quickly. I did, because when everyone was like, drop him, I said, no, I've calmed down now. I said, look, we've made our decision. We've got to back him. I did say that. I think
there's an episode of UV Raw when we played Sociedad. We played Sociedad at home, and it might have been his first start. It might have been his first start actually for United, Europa League, when we lost 1-0.
No, he wasn't
and
there
David
last
Silva.
Year.
What? No, Casemiro I was talking about.
Oh, Casemiro. Sorry, I thought you were talking about Onana. Right, sorry,
yeah, Casemiro. And you were quite scathing.
Yeah, because in that game he was that game.
But it was of the tone of you were looking at Josh and you were going, Josh. I'm telling you, he's not it.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, he's not it. It was very similar.
And fast forward from then to now, we're saying he should go Saudi in the summer.
He had a good season last season.
He did have a good season.
You can't deny that.
I can't deny that. But very quickly, there feels like, and this isn't from me,
but
by the way.
It wasn't the same. It wasn't the same issues. The issue this season is that it appears that he's lost a step. That wasn't the case at that point in time last season.
No, it was in that game.
You were more questioning his football ability at that point. At
that point in time in that game, he'd lost everything, mate. In that bit, he was dropping
more
0
like
out of 10.
Legs.
Yeah. And now that's what it is now.
I feel it's revisionist.
No, listen, he had a good season. He had a good
Well, members can find out. Members can go find out. They can go see the truth.
Yeah. And I do like things like because you have to say how you really feel in the moment. It doesn't mean that's going to completely define the player. That's just your feeling on the player based off, because like I said, Casmir is a good example of that. He was so influential for us last season. But do we maybe hype up how influential he was in certain bits versus others? Because someone said to me, who said it to me? I was having a debate one time and they were like, well, it took him a while to get going, which is true. Then he did get going and he was really good. But because he always had them suspensions that weren't his fault, by the way, a lot of them. But since he came back from like the last one of it, he wasn't as good as he was in the middle part. Then he kind of faded out. But a lot of us did, really. Look at Rashford. Rashford did the same thing. We kind of stumbled over the line. That was an everyone thing. And then since then, clearly this year, I mean, I've
been a bit like Rashford, really. Yeah. There was a period of time last season where Casemiro was, to the point where, because he wasn't playing against Arsenal at the Emirates, we were like, well, we're not going to win that game because Casemiro is not playing.
Exactly.
I remember he got booked against Palace and we knew that he was going to miss the game. And that was like, we'd conceded last minute, we're awful, we've lost. He was that important. But then again, so was Marcus Rashford last season. To the point of, if Rashford's not playing, who's going to score? What we're going to do? He's our best player. So they kind of both fall into that category a little bit. With Casemiro this season, I think there was some sort of reports when they're floating around yesterday. United open to cash it in on Casemiro this coming summer, and for the Saudi Arabia.
If he's that good, everyone would say no, we can't afford to lose him. But everyone now is like 100%. I'll bite your hand off. Let's be real, because he's not it.
Bigger picture. Yeah. It's bigger picture. But what we need to be also, we can't let go Casemiro in the summer and go, right, he was good for a season. He did drop off. We've got to be more careful. Thankfully, there's a Saudi that's willing, to buy it, because he's got a long contract. Otherwise, if that wasn't an option, who on earth spied him, realistically, 100%. At this point?
So when we go back to rating the transfer, if it ain't Saudi that buys him, we're going to be saying, I guarantee you, we're going to be saying, see, we've got Casemiro here now. He's not good. He's in his 3rd season, and he's just not doing anything. He looks way off it. The squad's moved on. He's still there on 400k, 300k. And I'm not discrediting what he's done last season. I'm just saying that's where I can see this heading if he doesn't leave in the summer, personally.
Yeah, and again, that's where Sir Jim was right. Sir Jim was right when he questioned that deal. People got really offended. He's questioning Casemiro's quality. No, he's just sort of looking at it and going, I just don't see the plan here. What's the long-term option? What's the long-term strategy here? And if we do let Casemiro go in the summer, we still can't do that again. And hopefully by that point, those people will be in there to prevent that from happening again, going, we could sign someone from Real Madrid and they could hit the ground running, but what are we doing in 2 years' time? What are we doing in 3 years' time? Like, what are we doing? What is the plan? Are we panicking because we wanted to get Frankie de Jong, who would have been a long-term option for us and was exactly what the manager wanted, and we didn't get him, and then we go, shit, what are we going to do? We've got this money set aside for this player who's a big name. Casmir is a big name. He's available. Cool. Let's go get him. We've got to stop doing that.
Yeah.
Because the old United, or the current United, would let Casemiro go in the summer and then go sign Cruz from Real Madrid. Be like, there you go.
Yeah,
and we'd be like,
exactly.
well, okay.
Because that would be a Man United thing as
that.
well. Like, go and get Cruz. Yeah, that's exactly it. Go and get Cruz at 38 or whatever. Obviously, and still think he can come Prem and do all the things that he's been doing over his career. Ola JD says, Flex, you're a hypocrite. You said, after 2 to 3 games, Amrabat wasn't it for United. But when fans were telling you Mason Mount wasn't it, you're telling people to give him 10 to 20 games to see what he's about. The reason why I hold that opinion, fair play, call me out on it. I'll push back on that. The reason why I say that is because I've got a bigger sample size of Mason Mount, of his attributes and how he can get about the pitch and how he can move as a footballer and what he's done in the Premier League, where I think we can get that out of him. I know you can push back and say, yeah, Amrabat needs time. I just said that. I said, I can't make my mind up on whether I would keep him or not because the whole team's been this, that, and the other. We need to see him more regularly. But obviously the opening stages, like Mount as well, haven't been great. But for me, on a personal, in my opinion, I think Mount is a much better player than Amrabat. Obviously, 2 different types of players, but the best versions of themselves. I would go with Mount for what we need. Obviously, there's balance issues, but you brought him in. Can he play with Bruno? That's on Eric Ten Hag. But the actual player, Mason Mount, I'm saying I think he's better than what we're seeing. I really do.
The timeline's different as well because Amrabat, he quite literally doesn't have time. He has a season and he might have to determine his future based upon this season. Mason Mount's locked in for 5 years. So he's gonna get time, So that's why the Amrabat thing's more of a discussion because at the end of the season, it's not like Mason Mount's going back to Chelsea because we got him on loan and we have to make a choice. We have to make a choice. And realistically, of Amrabat, actually, I say at the end of the season, a choice would really need to be made on him probably around January time once you're planning for the summer. Because if you're planning on signing Amrabat in the summer, you have to think about budgets and go, right, this price is what it is. I don't know what the actual price is, but that would be coming out of anything you're going to spend. So a decision would have to be made relatively soon. We're in November at this point. You'd have to start, again, big picture, long-term thinking, you'd have to start thinking about that pretty quickly. As far as the poll in the chat, it's actually quite close. It says, should United sign Amrabat permanently? 45% say yes, 55% say no. So quite close. Continue to get your votes in with that one as well.
And big up to you, Ola GD, as well. Comeback said, fair point. That's what it's all about. I like that. Like, hold me accountable. Listen, we do this every day. We make videos, especially from in the games. You're emotional. It's very difficult to just lock yourself in and say, this one thing is this, and I'm never going to change my opinion. I've had to do that loads, especially when you do this and you talk every day. So you have to give your opinion. Do you know what I mean? Every day.
Go back to those first United View videos.
Oh my gosh! If you pick out things that I've said from before, you'd go, "This guy's a clown. Who is it?" But that is football. When we all do it, we all talk about it. Just that it's so well documented here. And absolutely, that is what this community is about. What Ola JD just did right there is exactly what this is about. Flex, or I remember you saying that. What about this? Or Owen, you said this. What about? That's what it's about. And it ain't about shutting them people down and say, "I'll shut up." What? So you said, "Nah, have the conversation." This is why we love it. This is why we love it.
Sometimes when they say, "Oh, Owen, you said this," I go, "Did I?"
I
can't remember.
You don't even know. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. But that is why, though, I know, obviously, look, we've all had times where we've lost our heads online or when we're critiquing a match or whatever. I can't even think how many videos I've ever done in my whole career of this, but that's why I always try my hardest to be as measured as possible just in general as a person, because it's like doing this, once you start going down the right, like, of just like completely losing your shit and swearing and going in on like an individual's character and appearance because you just lost it. Like, I think those are the things you can't really take back. I think you can take back, like, yeah, last year I was saying this guy's not it, man, but I was wrong. He is. But I think when you call
and that's
someone, do you know what I
you're
mean?
allowed to change your opinion
Yeah,
as
you're
well.
allowed
That's
to change your
important.
opinion. But when you like, if you just like go in on someone, you say things where you go, oh, can't really take that back. That was, you can't say
That's
that
why
about
you always
Ron.
say
Do you
keep
know
it
what
to
I mean?
football, isn't it? You know what I mean? That's
Yeah,
why it's always keep it to
exactly.
football and you know, say things that you'd be comfortable saying to people's faces, you know.
Yeah.
And like that goes back to sort of the Maguire situation. I think if you keep it to football, then it's fair game, isn't it? Once you get into stuff that's just out of the realm of football, you sort of go, I don't know really why that's even a thing. But by the way, Flex, don't know if you've heard, got a new investor, Leon Cooperman. Wow,
Yeah.
this was a story yesterday. Breaking story. And it came from Bloomberg. So obviously because it's big in the financial world. And it was that billionaire Leon Cooperman has taken a late stake in Manchester United. Now, when that came out, people went, what? More drama? What's going on here? Now, reportedly, he had reported a position of just under 1 million shares, currently valued at $16.8 million. That was according to a recent filing. Now, does this mean anything about, you know, the Glazers, Sir Jim? No. Not really.
Yeah.
It's just a very wealthy man, you know, buying shares on Wall Street. You know, I guess a significant amount of shares in terms of, look, it's valued at $16.8 million. It's a lot of money, but in the grand scheme of things, it's just like a lot of the, you know, minority investors in Man United. There's hedge funds involved. There's just independently wealthy people. It's just, you know,
Yeah.
it's just Wall Street, really.
Yeah.
It's just
I
a stock
think,
exchange.
yeah, I think because obviously we're so fixated, and rightly so, we've been so fixated on, you know, Sheikh Jassim and Sir Jim Ratcliffe and the Glazers and what's going on with, because all of that's about majority ownership. In the end, for Sir Jim, it ended up being minority ownership, but you get my drift. They're for big chunks of it, significant chunks. There are many, many, many investors for Man United, many millionaires, many billionaires, who have 1%, 2%, 3%, 5%. Do you know what I mean? Like that's no news, basically. So it's basically
And it
just
could be
another one.
strategic. Maybe,
Yeah,
you know, he's thinking, well, I think maybe with all of this stuff going on, once
it'll
an
be a bit of a
announcement's made
spike.
about Sir Jim, maybe there'll be a bit of a spike, and maybe I'll get
Yeah,
rid of some and then I'll make some money.
exactly.
I don't know.
Exactly. And also what is interesting, which I can say I am doing now, I did mention it to you guys probably last week. Didn't mention it after that because I wanted to see what was happening. But I will be doing a piece with Bloomberg tomorrow on their, I think it's on their TV channel,
Yeah,
actually.
on Bloomberg, you
On
can go on
Bloomberg.
the. It's in the news channels, isn't it? On your planners, you know,
Yeah,
what's in the Sky Newses or your CNN. When when you get to, depends what you have, depends what
exactly.
broadcast system you have. I don't know what it is for mine. For
No.
if you're on Sky, it's around the sort of fives, I think, somewhere around the
Yes, it
fives.
is. So yeah. For me, it's like 501 upwards.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
But I'm doing it, and I've never done anything like it, and I'm really excited to do it, and not nervous, but like what's the word? No, I'm excited. I'm excited. Um, and I'm going to be on there with a Man United investor. Now I don't know if it's going to be this guy, Cooperman. I don't know if it's going to be him, but I'm going on there with a Man United investor, and I'm going to be asking them from a fan's perspective. Actually, I might need you. I'm going to need your help with this, guys. Actually, put some questions in the chat whereby they want our perspective as a fan in a room with you know these minority investors. And remember, the minority investors, and this I have been told this person is one of them, to my knowledge, is one of the people who were kicking up a stink to the Glazers, saying if you sell this club in this way, we're going to sue you. We're going to make it
Yeah.
difficult for you.
Without
Where's our
involvement.
money?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was real. We spoke to David Heller. You saw what Bloomberg was saying, and we knew what, you know, Mike Keegan said it. Everyone said that at that point, the way Sir Jim Ratcliffe's deal was structured, it was dead in the water. I am going to be in the studio, old Greg. So I'm going to be putting some questions, and I want to ask the tough questions too, because obviously from an investor's point of view, they just care about money. They just care about return of their investment. So I'm going to ask them, you know, from a fan's perspective, you know, how much do you care about, you know,
Yeah.
the decisions on the pitch? Bearing in mind, these are minority investors as well. So they're not the Glazers. They're not the people who make all the decisions, as we see. But it is interesting to see people who have a monetary interest in United who have put money in, big money in, to sit and talk with them. So yeah, I'm looking forward
And
to this.
as we say a lot of the time when these stories come out about shares and what class they are and percentage shareholdings, it can go over our heads a little bit because we're like, oh, we don't know. Like, what does this all mean? So that's why it's going to be really, really interesting. And from their perspective as well, they're involved, but they're not involved. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So
They just
that's
put their
going to be really
money in,
interesting.
then pretty much.
Yeah.
And I know this is layman's terms. And again, actually, I will ask, how involved are you? That's another question I will ask.
Yeah.
Because in my
And what
opinion,
influence
like
do you
we
have?
also, yeah,
You
and what
know?
influence do you have? In my opinion, Owen, I think they just put their money in, keep looking at their stocks and shares on the little graph thing each day, get there, and then, oh, is it doing well? We'll cash out, we'll keep it, I'll
Yeah.
leave it another couple of years. It's
Yeah.
because it's an investment.
Like,
But
what communication
obviously,
do you have, sort of
yeah,
thing? You know?
what line do you have into the Glazers? Have you guys been frustrated with how they've run the club? Because essentially, if they'd run the club better, you'd have more money yourself.
It's funny because so obviously, and again, this is my only point of reference when it comes to mergers or when it comes to Wall Street or whatever, is with the WWE. And when they merged with the UFC earlier this year, minority shareholders, basically, they said that they just got through the post one day, just massive booklet of this is what it is. This is what's happening, basically. Can't do anything about it because, you're a minority shareholder and you've got no influence, but this is what's happening. So it'd be interesting to know, have you got any communication? Are you told anything? Or are you like the rest of us going, oh, and then seeing your stock, the stock price go up and go, that's good.
Yeah.
For me, is it
Exactly.
as simple as that?
Yeah.
So
yeah, it could be something where I go, oh, I didn't learn anything. But I've never sat down with a Man United investor before, especially on live TV. So
and it's a different world.
That whole finance world. I'm there to learn. I'm there to be inquisitive. I'm there to ask questions from our perspective as a fan. So
what would you do? What would you do if you're there, you're getting ready, they're doing little powder on your head, all this kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
And then you sit down and they go, right, and just in comes the investor and he sits down. It's KG. He sits there with his jacket and he goes, what? And you're like, probably like Only Fools and Horses. You go, KG, yeah. You're a minority shareholder. Yeah.
Oh, my days.
So
what would I do? I'd just walk out.
And that day as well, you go KG and goes, it's Kevin.
Yeah, it's Kevin to you.
And then when you do the interview, he talks completely like differently.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Proper
investor. Well, actually, we're looking at the stock price at the moment. It's going up. We anticipate. We've done a bit of forecasting.
He's talking about NASDAQ.
Let's go. And then, so Flex, what would you like to know from a fan's opinion?
Who are you? What is this?
Who are you? It's Kevin.
Yeah, I mean that would be something for the books. To be fair, there might be some. I'd be very proud of him if he was a Man United investor. It means he'd be doing very well for himself. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, I think it's safe to say that it's not going to be Kevin.
How did it was, Sir Jim?
Well, when they first, I'm not gonna like when they first messaged me about it, and I was talking to them, they did say, "Yeah, we're going to have you on with a Man United investor." And in my head, I was like, imagine that. What? Who's that? Who? and then it was like a minority investor. But Sir Jim is a minority investor. But that hasn't been announced yet. So listen, it definitely isn't going to be Sir Jim Ratcliffe. It might be someone who owns 0.2%. I have no idea who it's going to be. I just know that it's called a Man United investor. And I've never been sat next to one before that I've known of anyway. A lot of people are saying to go in the phobe and, wear my Qatar. No, I've been told to wear business attire, which, to be fair to Qataris, that is. But I'm not going to go on there and stoke up, stuff. I just want to go there, do my job.
Suit settings.
Yeah, suit settings. Well, it's just a business attire. You know me. I'm not really. I can wear a suit, but I won't do like a suit. Just like a little mix, and
I would say watch Bloomberg today.
Yeah. No, but they'll all be in suits. I know they will. Because they're actual finance people. But I'm not doing that. I'm going probably blazer, turtleneck, jeans, and flat base trainers, maybe.
Well, what do you think Flex should wear in the chat? Let us know.
Yeah.
And we're getting into really strange
Or
territory.
I'll just
but,
wear a
you know,
suit with a turtleneck and then some trainers. I ain't doing the full
yeah,
on.
I think suit, turtleneck. You know what I mean? I don't think there's got to be some kind of sort of smart suit jacket.
Actually,
involved.
not jeans. Definitely not jeans. Actually,
No.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, big up. Smash the like on the video on the way out. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. We're at 260 likes. Can we push that up by 40? Can we get to 300 on the way out the door? And Rugby 86, you disgrace and cheat, says wear a leotard and a blazer. Well. And Danny says, good morning, Flex and Owen. How's KG? Well, according to Owen, he's just sorting out his finances, mate. He's a minority investor in Man United. But yes, he's all right from the FIFA thing yesterday. I'm going to go and look at the Minna thing as well. Big up Minna. I saw her in the chat earlier. Big up to her. Make sure you go follow her channel. Big up to all of the mods. Big up to all of the members as well in the chat and everybody else as well who's been involved today. And there's been a contribution as well from Stefan, Frankie Stefan. Really appreciate that. As Joe Blackman says, that pretty much big up Joe Blackman, by the way. I think Joe Blackman has this, he copies and pastes this towards the end of every stream. Says, please drop a like on the way out, people. The channel really appreciates the love. Thank you. Big up to you, Joe Blackman.
I recently made Joe Blackman a mod, by the way, as well. So welcome to the mod club, Joe Blackman.
Big up, man. Big up. Always, he always puts the extra mile in. I really appreciate that. As do everybody else who's in there as well. Big up John James. Big up Lil Yo-Yo, who's everywhere. Anyway, guys, love you all. Peace. We're out of here.